Can hot cereal work for diabetics? Yeah, it can, but sometimes you have to apply a little modification. My wife Benedicta will join me today to show you how. Well, as you can see, we have my lovely assistant, who also happens to be my wife. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad you are here. It's always
part of the show.
That's right, and it's always more fun when you are here.
Yeah.
So, we are talking about hot cereal. This is hot cereal day today.
Praise God.
What are we going to have for breakfast?
Hot cereal.
Hot cereal. What are we going to have for lunch?
Hot cereal.
Hot cereal. What are we going to have for supper?
Hot cereal.
This is hot cereal all the way through, baby.
Day. Oh, God, help me.
So, when I was a kid, we had hot cereal, not all the time, but sometimes, usually 2 or 3 times a week. And I can remember 3 hot cereals. One was Quaker Oats, which you know about from Nigeria. Nigerians eat that.
Yes.
One was Malto-Meal. Strange name, Malto-Meal. You ever hear of that?
Never heard of it.
And one was cream of wheat. And I think they had an O in that. Cream o' wheat. Cream of wheat, Malto-Meal. I don't know where the O's came from, but I guess it stands for of.
Yeah.
Cream of wheat, malt of meal, and Quaker Oats.
Okay.
And basically, they were all kind of drab and dull and not very exciting until you put some stuff on it. So we had our table sugar and our bowl of sugar on the table. You spoon several spoons of sugar on it. You pour a little milk and maybe a little butter. You stir it around. It's not bad. Time you add the sugar and the milk and maybe a little butter. But if I had tried to eat them by themselves, I would have hated them.
Okay.
They just weren't very exciting. There's just a limit to how exciting some kind of a grain product boiled in water is going to be. But by the time you added the other things, they weren't bad. Actually, my favorite was the coal cereal.
Okay.
The Cocoa Puffs and the Sugar Pops and all these sugary cereals that are terrible for you. I loved them. I could have eaten them all day long. They didn't need to give me a hamburger for supper or a steak. They just give me a bowl of cereal. I'd have been a happy guy.
Okay.
And I guess that's maybe one of the reasons I am where I am today, having to struggle with blood sugar. But I loved cold cereal. But in the eyes of most of the adults, like my mom, the hot cereal was more noble, more righteous, more virtuous. It was just the really good stuff. She tolerated the cold cereal, I guess partly because I loved it and partly because it was easy to fix.
To make.
But she always felt better about hot cereal.
Okay.
But from a blood sugar perspective, there really isn't that much difference normally. But what we have here is something I never remember eating as a boy, and that was buckwheat. Buckwheat.
Buckwheat.
I like the sound of that name.
Buckwheat.
You throw in a good heavy B, buckwheat,
Buckwheat.
You just go to the restaurant, give me 2 orders of buckwheat, please.
Yeah.
So
said it.
Yeah, it's just exciting to say. No, actually, the reason we're having this is because of one of our YouTube viewers. He left a comment, and he said that he eats buckwheat. He says it's not a grain.
Okay.
It sure looks like a grain. It cooks like a grain, but he says it's not a grain, and he says it doesn't really mess with his blood sugar. So I got, kind of interested in that. I ordered some. When I looked at the carbs, I thought, this doesn't look too good. Now, I have my candy bar rule, which is anytime you're eating a food that has about the same amount of carbs as a candy bar, not so good.
Not so good.
This, when I looked at it for one helping, one recommended serving size, I think it was like 31 or 32 net grams of carbs. Okay. Snicker bar's 33. So, I mean, you're right up there with a Snicker bar when it comes to the total carbs or even the net carbs. So, this looks a lot more virtuous and righteous and noble. I'm not sure how good it'll be, but this guy did say that it worked for him. And it didn't raise his blood sugar much. So I thought, all right, let's give it a try. So for today, we're going to try the buckwheat For lunch, for breakfast. For lunch, we're going to modify the buckwheat because I have a feeling this won't be quite so good for me as what it was for him.
Yeah.
So we'll modify it to where it should work a little better.
Right.
And then we'll try a third recipe of hot cereal for supper. So
what we are really trying to today, the 3 different types of cereal is like what our fans want us to try.
Well, yeah, this guy really recommended it. And, I was curious, is this a grain or is it a seed? I went to Google and I typed in, is it a grain? And then it filled out the rest, or is it a seed? So apparently I'm not the only one that ever wondered about that. I think there's a lot of people wondering.
Google knows about everything.
Google knows.
Google knows.
And so I looked it up and lo and behold, one of the things it said, it is the seed of a fruit. So it's technically a seed.
A seed.
But they also called it a pseudo cereal.
Okay.
Pseudo means false or fake.
Okay, fake cereal.
So we're eating fake cereal today.
I got to be cereal.
It looks like cereal.
But it's not exactly
It's going to taste like, a hot cereal.
Yeah.
But technically we're eating seeds.
But so many people are many people are substituting some other things that will help your blood sugar not to rise so high.
Right.
So I think that is why so many people are coming up with a lot of things.
They're trying things and they're asking me all kinds of questions. Will you test this? Will you test that?
This. So we're testing this today to see.
I can't test everything. I won't test everything, but I will test a few things. And the buckwheat did intrigue me, especially when he said, well, it doesn't affect my blood sugar. I thought, well, let's see how it does to mine and yours.
And mine, I started higher than you today. Don't be too proud of yourself about that. I started higher than him today.
Her pre-test was over that 100 number, which you normally try to avoid.
107.
Mine was 106.
Oh, 106.
I think it was. Mine was a little under 100, but let's pay no attention to that.
No.
And now we are going to add 2 things. I know people complain that I'm messing up the test because it's not pure anymore. It's not going to be pure buckwheat. But hey, we got to test according to the way we like to eat it. And there's no way I'm going to eat just plain old drab, dull, dry, chaffy buckwheat. I'm going to have to add.
Everyone. Anybody that wants to eat cereal, you add a little milk to it.
You have to add something. So we got some heavy whipping cream. We've got some the whole earth sweetener, which is sort of half stevia or part stevia, part monk fruit. So shouldn't raise blood sugar much at all. I think the blood sugar rise we do get, whatever we get, is going to be from the buckwheat. You ready to have some buckwheat?
Ready to have some buckwheat?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Dig in.
All right. Well, my love, it is lunchtime.
Lunchtime.
And I have a special word for this lunchtime meal of hot cereal.
Okay.
The word is modification.
Modification. Right.
Which means to take something in its original form and change it up a little bit and create something that's more useful.
We call that being creative.
Being creative, exactly. And let me just give you an example of how modification works. There's a microphone these folks can't see, isn't there? It's just above our heads and slightly forward. And that's why we're not wearing any mics on our shirts, because there's a microphone just above our heads. Now, let me tell you something about that mic. When I try to listen to that mic in its normal state, it doesn't sound very good for voices.
Not very good at all.
The mic is called a pencil mic or an instrument mic. And it is made for putting up close to a musical instrument like drums or guitar and creating a piercing, shrill, high sound that will, be heard by everybody in a concert.
Okay.
Now, that's not the ideal mic for a vocal, for people talking.
Okay.
So you say, well, why are you using a mic that's not made for vocals? Well, the thing of it is, by adjusting the mic a bit. That is, I run it into a mixer and I take those high frequencies, which it's tuned to be very high in the treble department, I turn them down. I take the mid frequencies, I turn them down.
Okay.
I take the bass frequencies, I turn it up. And I get a sound that pleases me and works just fine for vocals. Okay. What have I done to that mic and to that sound? I have modified it. And so that's what we've done here today. Now,
And that makes you an engineer.
Well, I guess I'm a kind of a food engineer here, or in that case with the mic, a mic engineer. Now, we're not going to tell the exact numbers we got on our previous hot cereal.
Oh.
But I'll give a hint. It wasn't terrible.
No.
But it wasn't great. It was we'll give the numbers at the end. But
I liked it.
Wasn't exactly ideal in terms. Oh no, it tasted fine. Yeah. But in terms of the numbers, I wasn't totally satisfied, but it wasn't terrible. Just put it that way.
No, it wasn't terrible.
So this time we've modified our cereal a bit by changing up part of the recipe.
Right.
Now, let me introduce 3 little types of foods that you can use to modify a number of things. One is chia seeds, one is flax seed, and one is hemp hearts. Now, what do all these 3 have in common? They have something exciting in common, exciting to me, and that is all their carbs are fiber carbs.
Okay.
Every single carb. For example, with this chia seeds, it lists 10 grams of carbs per 2 tablespoons, 10 grams of fiber. They're all fiber. Shouldn't affect blood sugar.
No.
Flaxseed, it lists 4 grams of carbs per 2 tablespoons and 4 grams of fiber.
Okay.
Every gram of carb is a fiber carb.
Fiber carb.
The hemp seed lists only 1 gram of carbs for 3 tablespoons, which is next to nothing, and even that 1 scrawny gram is a fiber gram.
Fiber.
So theoretically, these shouldn't raise blood sugar at all. I say theoretically because some people report they do. Okay, raise it somewhat for them. It doesn't seem to be the case for me. So here's what we did. We took our original, excuse me for reaching, buckwheat, and we used only about 55%, a little over half buckwheat, and then we substituted some chia seed and some flax seed for the rest of the recipe. Right. So it's about 55% buckwheat, and then the other 45% is about half chia seed, half flax seed, which should not raise blood sugar. That should give us much better numbers than we got the last time. Last time weren't terrible, but this should be better. After eating that lunch of a modified buckwheat hot cereal and testing ourselves, at our dinner meal we changed it up. We used a recipe based on about half a cup of very low-carb protein powder and half a cup of a mixture of ground flaxseed, chia seeds, and hemp hearts, along with a small amount of oatmeal. This would be our lowest carb meal of the day. Well, it has been a day of hot cereal, morning, noon, and evening.
Yep.
And,
all day long hot cereal.
I will venture to say you've never had a day where you ate like this before.
Nope.
Not in all your life. Guess what?
No.
Me neither.
Okay.
I've had hot cereal for sure, but never for breakfast, lunch, and supper.
Yeah, we're trying new things.
This
is one of them. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to quickly go over the numbers. We'll start with that breakfast, the first meal, where it was pure buckwheat and with a little cream and stevia.
Yep.
Your pre-meal was?
107.
107. Mine was 98, so I was a little better than you. And then at 1 hour, you had, and the 1 hour is the big test. That's the one we tend to hit our peak, hit the summit of our blood sugar, and then it starts going down after that. So we pay a lot of attention to the 1 hour marker.
Right.
Your 1 hour was?
139.
And mine was?
Little high. And your, the same number.
We both had it exactly the same, 139 after 1 hour, so we were close. After 2 hours, however, there was a big difference.
Yes.
You, after 2 pancreas, your pancreas, little pancreas was really kicking in. What did you get?
86.
86. Wow, mine was at 124, so I still wasn't really down to base level after 2 hours. Okay, lunch was the buckwheat, but we had cut it almost in half with a couple of other lower carb, higher fiber foods like flaxseed and chia seed. So we expected better numbers, and we got them. Pre-meal, you were at?
94.
And I was at 92, so again, pretty close. 1 hour, you were at?
124.
And I was at 125. Boy, we were just right
Very
neck and
close.
neck throughout that particular test.
Yeah.
Now, for the supper is where we changed it up. We didn't use buckwheat at all. We used protein powder, and it was a low carb. I think it was like 1 net gram per serving, per scoop. Very low carb. It did have some stevia in it. And so I knew that wasn't going to be much of a blood sugar raiser. And then we threw in some flaxseed, chia seeds, and hemp hearts.
Yeah.
We did have a little oatmeal, but not very much.
Not too much.
So, pre-meal, you were at
106.
And I was at 88. Now, we need to explain that 106 a little bit.
I don't know.
Because,
I don't know what you want to explain
well, between lunch and supper, I ate nothing at all. But somebody else was
I don't know who,
snacking on a few nuts here and there. And so I think that gave her a little higher number than she would have had. You had a 106, I had an 88. After 1 hour, I was thrilled with mine, and yours was your rise was about the same as mine, but you ended up higher. So you had a what?
113.
113 after 1 hour. I had a 96. So anytime I can peak at something under 100 at 1 hour, I'm a happy guy. Your 113 seems like quite a bit more, but when you consider that you started at 106, you just rose 7 points. I rose 8. So our blood sugar rise was about identical. It's just that you started a little higher because of those nuts that you'd been snacking on.
Yeah.
So, all in all, what do we say to these things?
Not too bad.
Not too bad, no.
Not too bad.
The buckwheat was the one I was really curious about. I knew it wasn't going to be great, but it actually ended up just 1 point under my limit. I normally try to set a limit of 140, and most of the time I don't even want to get close. I'd rather be in the 120s or 1-teens. But in this case, I got right up to the limit, 139, as did you at 1 hour. But not too bad. When we got to the lunch, it was better, and you peaked at 124, me at 125. Got to supper, it was better still. You know, the interesting thing is this is almost exactly the way I would have predicted.
Okay.
That the buckwheat breakfast would have been the highest. The half and half kind of a lunch would have been second. And then this final one where we had nothing with really any much carbs except the oatmeal, but there wasn't much oatmeal for all that. So that was the lowest, pretty much the way I thought it was. One thing I noticed, and I think you did as well, these kind of meals, they fill you up temporarily, but by about 3 hours, you're not feeling too full. In fact, you're starting to get hungry. That's how I felt.
Right. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Like after some hours, 2 to 3 hours, you want to eat like the hunger will be like, all over the place. You'll be like, I thought I just ate. You'll be like, okay, that was why I went snacking on those nuts, but I shouldn't have.
Well, and that is one of the problems when you don't eat much fat. And even though the meal number 2 and 3, the lunch and the supper, they didn't have a lot of carbs, but they didn't have much fat except for the cream we poured on them. And when you don't eat much fat, you don't stay satisfied for as long. So that was an issue. One thing we need to mention is that if you want to make these, and we will have the description for that final recipe in the description, we'll have a recipe for that. But if you want to make these, there's all kinds of combinations of the different ingredients we use. You can use a little more of this, a little less of that, and try different things, see what suits you and what suits your blood sugar.
Right.
And I guess the final point I want to make is that what we have done, particularly with the buckwheat, is you test, you modify, and you test again when your results aren't that great. So we tested the buckwheat. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I wasn't really comfortable rising up to about 140. So we modified, and now we got it down to 125. We found an even better recipe for the carbs, got it down lower still. So that's what smart diabetics will do. They will test, they will modify, they will test again until they get it in a range that they're comfortable with. Now, I will say, if you've just come home from the doctor with a 12 A1C, you don't need to be fooling with this stuff at all. You should be in phase 1 where you're really ruthless with your carbs. I wouldn't even advise this for people that have a big, high A1C. But if you don't, if you've been able to get yours down into the the 5s and you've been doing pretty well, you can experiment with some of these things. It's just a break from eating bacon and eggs every day or sausage and eggs or, whatever in eggs.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's nice to take a break. So, my love, if people like this video, what in the world do you think they ought to do? Why don't you tell us what they ought to do if they like this video?
If you like this video...
Come on, tell us what they should do if they like this video.
If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe for us and click on the button that is below. And then make sure you click on that little bell so that YouTube will notify you each time we post anything. And then we just want to encourage you to also leave a little comment or a bigger comment and just tell us how you feel if you tried it and if you like it. Just give us a comment and then thumbs up.
So they should give us a thumbs up, but not a thumbs down, right?
No thumbs down, just thumbs up. And then you like it, click on the like button and then, yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
No, I make everything better.
We will see you in the next one, or at least I will. Maybe she will. We'll see.
I will, yeah.